Hello, I'm Helen from Graylian Games, and today I'm going to be talking to Jake about his work on T 30. Jake, what's T 30? Tell me about it.
Okay, so T-30 is a kind of hyped up city builder in which you have 30 minutes to build a fleet of rockets and escape the Earth before a horrible disaster occurs and kills everyone on it. And you have to save as many people as possible in that 30 minutes. And so it's pretty high speed, fun, and also you only have to play it for 30 minutes, which kind of suits a lot of people's lifestyles at the moment.
Okay, great. So how did this project come about? How did you get involved in T 30?
Okay, so this is a collaboration, this project. It's myself as developer designer, Ichiro from Dejaban Games as producer, art director, kind of a bunch of things, marketing guy. And Super Hot Games also helped us out with some funding for the game. So it's a kind of collaboration. And what happened was, let me see, a couple of years ago, Ichiro made a game called 20-Minute Metropolis. And then I worked with him in 2018 with some interns from Mass Digi and as a designer, and we basically improved the 20-Minute Metropolis with a whole bunch of features and stuff. And then last year, that's when we got the funding from Superhot, and I worked on it full time to turn it into T-30 and did a whole load of extra stuff. So it's evolved, through several different stages to get where it is now.
And Dejaban, they're based in Boston, that's right, isn't
That's
it?
right. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's a sort of international collaboration.
it certainly is. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you compare the game to 20-Minute Metropolis, can you tell me a little bit about what that game was like and how the new game T 30 has changed from that game?
Sure. So in 20-Minute Metropolis, you have 20 minutes to build a metropolis, and the aim is to build parks which generate points, and you need to get as high score as possible by the end of the 20 minutes. Um, One of the big differences is that game had one map, and this game has procedurally generated maps. So they can be different sizes, they can have slightly different biomes in terms of dryness or wetness, or trees or cities or different amounts and stuff like that. And in fact, there are several fixed scenarios the player can choose, and there are also just ones you can set the parameters yourself for, and it will generate them for you. So that's one big difference. There's also fog of war. So we really wanted to encourage exploring in this game. So you explore and find resources, and obviously it's different each time due to the proc gen. So the fog of war felt pretty cool, a bit like the old StarCraft games and stuff, in the way that works. Another main difference is, instead of building parks to get points, you obviously build rockets, and you build all the resources to support those, and then they take off at the end, and your score is based on the number of people who survive. So that's a big change in kind of the theming and the aim of the game. There are obviously more buildings in the tech tree that do a whole bunch of different stuff. There's stuff like desert tiles, which need watering in order to turn into plains tiles to put certain buildings on. And you can also clear away various junk and stuff on the landscape to gain a few sort of quick resources and to clear a path through to a new area where you might need to build a road to get work so that you can harvest materials from old skyscrapers and things like that. So those are kind of the main sort of mechanical changes. We also added in Steam achievements and high scores, so you can compare your score with other players online. And the whole game, needed obviously a lot of rebalancing and testing and UI upgrades and stuff like that. So I did a load of that as well. So anyway, there's a long explanation, but obviously there's quite a lot of changes.
Okay, and tell me a bit more about what you did to balance the game then.
Okay, so a couple of things. One is when we run the proc gen in the game, it actually outputs some debug values, which I can look at, which say, how much metal, wood, stone resources there are, and so on. So I was able to test out all sort of minimum and maximum debug values and check that they were generating enough resources for a sensible game for the player, that the player would be able to, have fun with, and check that they weren't, say, making a map that was so crowded you couldn't even move anywhere, or you couldn't place the initial starting point. So we use the debug values, and balance stuff. And there's various little bits of code in there that make sure the beginning of the map is nice and playable for the player, stuff like that. Then obviously we tested it, myself and Ichiro tested it a whole bunch and made tweaks. I also made a big classic game designer spreadsheet in which I put in a load of values that I thought made sense. And those were the key ones we changed. And we also hired a playtester, and she was brilliant. And she worked on it for a whole week or more, playing the game over and over. And we had a sort of conversation about various aspects of the game that could be balanced differently and what that meant. And so I made tweaks and so on accordingly. And it seems pretty good. We've also had a few other play testers play it, and probably some more will play it before it launches, and we might make further tweaks. But it's actually quite a big process to balance a game like this. I didn't want to just throw random numbers in there. It needed to make sense and be playable and fun. And I think it is.
And in terms of launching, people can wishlist the game now on Steam. That's right, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely. We encourage people to go to the Steam page, wishlist it there. And I think I can say it's scheduled for a launch later this year. Yes. More specifics are on the Steam page, I think.
Yeah. Okay. And finally, this is the first project where you've used Unity. Can you tell me a little bit about what it was like to use Unity for the first time and anything particular about this project?
Sure. It's not sort of technically the first time, because I've used it before for game jams and looked at it in the past, but that was almost sort of so long ago. It's changed a lot since then. But this time, yeah, I really enjoyed using it, actually, because I like C# as a language. It's pretty similar to the old language I was using, and I used it years ago anyway. So I like the language. And one good thing about this was because the project already had code from other developers who worked with Dejaban in it, I was able to look at their code and see how they did things and learn a load of stuff. So I had a lot of head starts. Unity's obviously got tons of resources online you can look at and, get information there, and I could get help from other people if I needed it. It turns out I didn't need too much really, because, I sort of been programming long enough, my skills were able to translate. It was more like figuring out Unity's way of doing things, which at times I've got to admit is a bit annoying, like the UI stuff, but another times quite good. Oh, we've got a cat there. Okay. So, yeah, it was a good experience overall, and I plan to use Unity for future projects. So, I mean, I guess that's a glowing report, really.
Oh, pretty good. All right. So I think that's all we've got time for today. Thank you for talking to me about T-30. If anybody wants to check it out, it's on Steam to wishlist at the moment, and you can look at various fun gameplay videos and stuff that give you an idea of what it might be like. And it's written T, then the word minus 30, the number. So that's how you find it.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Jake.
Thanks, Helen. Bye.